I hope that you'll join me on this journey to forge a better future. Merry Christmas to all my beautiful people of YouTube. Today we are going over the basics of HTML because I've been given 3 coding assignments, and this is my first website that I've ever coded. So I've coded a few other little things in the past, but today we're going to go a little in depth and teach you the basics of HTML. I also wanted to try something new today, and before every video I'm going to give you guys a new name, and I'm going to tell you what that name means. And so if you've learned something today, considering this channel is all about learning, then if you'll leave me a like down below, it would be much appreciated. So let's get into it. And the name that we've chosen today is Beatrice, and the meaning of Beatrice is bringer of joy. And I just always thought that was pretty cool. So if you learned something today or you like that, just hit the thumbs up down below and let's go. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you the parameters of the project that I was given, and then I'm going to show you how I kind of started it from start to finish. I have an HTML template that you should probably start with, but yeah, let's go onto the desktop and see what's going on. Alright, so now that we're back here on the desktop, I thought I'd just go ahead and show you guys the parameters that I was given for the web page. And so I'll just read them out to you right quick. Basically, I had to create a web page in HTML. The heading had to be centered H1, and it had to say my first HTML page with the color dark blue. I had to have a paragraph with 30 words describing the page, and 2 pictures from the image library folder side by side, and centered buttons with 4 external links. The 4 external links to the website, they had to be colored dark blue. And because of the website or the text editor that I'm using, it had to be target equals underscore blank with attribute, and a simple HTML table with the header containing all that and at least 5 elements below it. So this is what I had so far. Basically, this is kind of the end of the page, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you guys to where I started. And this is kind of where I started my HTML journey. So anybody can do this. All you have to do is open up Notepad. I currently use Notepad++, but you can use regular Notepad. And basically at the top, the DOCTYPE HTML, you have to have that for every HTML page. It basically tells HTML what it's reading. So the browser, all it does is your web browser, whichever one that you may choose, it just reads the structure of the web page, and that is what DOCTYPE HTML is. And this is the easiest way that I've found to go ahead and structure it. So this is a template that I made, and what you want to do is at the bottom you want to put, or at the top you want to put HTML, and everything inside the HTML tag is what everyone's going to see. So HTML has to be at the top, and then I have a header, that's your title. And then under the header I have the body, and H1 is the first header. Title, what that means is, and I have, these are called tags inside these little the greater than, less than signs. And a tag, I have a whole list of them that I'm going to put in the description of the video. And so and what they do. So the title tag, basically what it's supposed to do is it will show up in the title of the web browser, like in your tab. So whenever you click on a web page and it brings up in your browser, should say my first HTML in the top of the tag. In the body, that is what everyone sees inside the web page. So this is kind of how you want to start it with the open tag and the ending tag. And open tag will look just like this with H1. And then at the very end, you'll have the slash with the H1, and that's closing the actual tag. So let's just go ahead to the where I actually coded the website, and I'm just going to take you step by step through the entire thing. So what I have is I have the DOCTYPE HTML at the top, then we have HTML, then the body style. What I did is these are CSS code. HTML code is not a programming language. HTML is a markup language, and a markup language basically just shows you whatever you code on the page. So from here, what I did was the background color was gold, I went way too in depth into this before I get started explaining it. The instructions were very simple, and I kind of took it a little bit further than should have been. But I hope you guys enjoy it. So here it is. I had to quit working on it, and I had to just kind of go ahead and stop messing with it and explain what I did, because I would probably continue to be messing with this website. It was just fun, and I just wanted to learn new things that I could do, and it was my first web page. So yeah, we still have 2 more assignments to complete after this, so kind of need to go ahead and turn this one in. So where are we at? We're at divs. Now, what a div is, you can think of the div tag as invisible boxes. So whenever you write a div, we'll just go ahead and show you the explanation. So this is what I'm going to put under the description, and these are all the tags that I used in the page. And if you go down here and you see the div tag, basically they're used to group whatever elements you want. So if you have a bunch of paragraphs in a page, or if you have a bunch of images in a page, you can group them in what's called divs, and it's a little bit easier to structure it, which I wish I would have structured this better, and any HTML site that I do in the future will be structured a lot better than this here. So when you do the div tag, basically anything inside the div tag, there can be nothing that appears beside it. It will only appear at the top or the bottom, because a div tag will do a natural break or a line break. So that would be the first tag that we did in the website. And what I did was I grouped the header, or I grouped the page so that I could change the background to gold. And then the header style one, text align center. This would be the first header, which is my HTML page. And the text align to center is a CSS code instead of an HTML code, and they are used to style the page. And then we made the color dark blue, as the instructions said. We closed the div tag. The HR tag, which I just kind of like for no reason. It was just a addition that I put in the website because it looked nice. HR is a self-closing tag. A self-closing tag is one that doesn't have an open and an end. It just has a HR and then the slash, so it's a self-closing tag. The P is the paragraph, so you can have as many paragraphs as you want in the page. And what I did was I wrote the 30 words for the paragraph here, kind of describing what the page is about. And what the page is about is the golden ratio. Those who don't know what the golden ratio is nature's math. It's basically math that we did not discover. It is math that some call it God's fingerprint, and it's the way that God mathematically created the universe and the world. And so it's actually really cool. If you guys haven't looked into it, technically the golden ratio is 1.62 or 3, I believe, is the decimal number, but it looks like a spiral. It looks, you can find it all over in nature. It just kind of is a clockwise spiral design. So yeah, without further ado, without me going into a tangent, then we did another horizontal line after the paragraph. Then I created a div class for the images. I had 3 images in the page. They actually had 3 separate golden ratio images, so what I did was I just put them all 3 in the page. Over here, when you have images, images right here need to come from a source. So the image tag would be IMG, but then you want to put the SRC here, and then inside the quotations you're going to put the path to that specific image. Now an alt tag is the next tag that you should use, and if you don't use the alt tag, they are required in HTML because it will look fine as a visual appearance for your website, but if you're looking at it through just a text editor, nothing will show up. So technically the HTML will be invalid if you don't have alt tags. And all that is you would do an alt equals, and then in quotations you would just write the description of that particular image. So the first one would be the Da Vinci promo that I had. Now the style The style is a CSS code, and technically I would like to have another CSS document, which is the way that most professional coders do it. They will have a separate CSS document that describes the style and colors of the page, and you can really break it down into specific sections that look much better, and it's much more laid out and easier to work with. But for this, my first HTML page, I just put it in the line with the actual images, which doesn't make it a little harder. It's pretty much the same. So you would just want to put style equals, and then in quotations you can determine the width and the height of the pixel, and both the width and the height can be either in percentages or pixels. You kind of have to get used to how big pixels are whenever you start forming them into a page, but once you start doing a couple, you kind of get the hang of it, of how big certain things are. Now float is another CSS element, and float basically puts things side by side. On the web page, you can have it float to the left, float to the right. But one thing I do want to say about float is that if you have breaks in the page and you have other elements, sometimes they'll get mixed in together. So you want to put clear, like at the very bottom, or at the very bottom of the page, or at the very bottom of your code. You want to put clear both. And that's something that I put in the description here. Down at the bottom, clear both means get past all the floating divs. So like I said before, when you have a div, nothing can be beside the divs. It can either be above or below them, the invisible boxes that we created. So going back to the website code here, we'll go down here because I did use margin CSS code. So what this does is margin dash right semicolon auto, and then margin dash left semicolon auto. Basically that's supposed to automatically center whatever I wrote in the center of the page. And you can also do that with the text centered element, or text center tag, I apologize. So after that we closed the div, and then we did another horizontal line. And after the horizontal line, we had to make our 4 external links to 4 external websites. All these websites are really awesome, really interesting websites about what the golden ratio is, and really gives you some cool examples of golden ratios in nature. And so the UL, what that is an unorganized list, or a I definitely messed that up. Unordered list is what I meant. Basically, it's a bullet pointed list. So if you put UL, you're going to create an unordered list, and then everything inside of that list, so like bullet point 1, you would want to put LI, and then you want to close that tag at the very end. So anything inside LI would be the first bullet point. A H or an A tag is meant for links. So any external links, you want to use the A tag, and href is the tag that you want to use for external links, or hyperlinks, I'm sorry. So it's my first time. I'm no expert at HTML. Yeah, hyperlink to an external website. We're going to cut that entire part out, so don't worry about it. And then you want to close your unordered list. I put another horizontal line in there, and just to kind of break up the different sections of the page for everything that I had to do. And then I created another div for the background, because in the beginning I was going to only put color behind the headers, and then I decided just to change the entire background to gold. So that is in a div, which the div ID, these are very important div attributes. So there's only 2 div attributes that I know of, and the attributes, what they do is an ID has to be given to a unique character. So only one thing on your entire HTML page can be defined as an ID. So you'd want to do div equals ID, and that is the beginning of how you change the style or color of any element on the page. Now a class is how you group elements in a page. So if I had a bunch of things that I wanted to color a certain color, or if I had a bunch of elements that I wanted to style a certain way, I would put them in a class. And you can create as many different classes as you would like, and they're not unique. So going back to the code, the div ID, the header, like I said before, I put the style as background gold, but I align the text to the center. You have your second header, which is the title of the table that I'm about to show you. And then we did the other div, which is the table. And the table, you can do, you start out with table, which is a self-closing tag. And then the table style equals, width equals 100%. And this was actually pretty cool. You can do, like I said, width and height in pixels, or you can do them in percents. And so what I did was I just made the table go across the entire web page, and you can do that with 100%. So, and then I align the text to the center. Now TR, what TR stands for is table row. They will separate each of the rows. So if I wanted what at the top of the table, you want your first name, last name, city, state, birth month, that would be the first row. And then the table header, which would be first name. So I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. I know this part may be a little confusing, but every one of these is a different part of the table here. So what I did was I put all the first names. Well, this would be the first table row. So the first table row would be Ulysses, and the second table row would be Fibonacci. And these are famous people in history who studied and knew about the golden ratio. And so basically we have just the 4 more rows that we had that we were required to for the table. And then we would close the table down here at the bottom. I put another horizontal line, and then this is the really cool part that they didn't tell me to do. And like I said, I had to quit messing with this, or I would still be here editing it and making it better than it already is. So an iframe, what an iframe is basically an external video URL. I had to use the iframe so that I could go out and get the URL for this current YouTube video. And I was just going to put an explanation at the bottom of how I actually created it to make things easier for anyone who was looking at it. So then we just closed the div. I put the entire page in a div so that I could more easily customize it. And then at the bottom, I just closed it out with HTML. And I will put the entire code of what I did in the description of the YouTube video, along with the list of all the tags that I did. So you can actually do this yourself. Anybody can open up Notepad, and as long as you just copy and paste this into Notepad, you can save the file as an HTML file. Instead of demonstrating, I will just actually show you what the website actually looks like now that I'm about to turn in. So this is what the website looks like, and this is what I had to copy and paste the code into, which is their specific text editor, and then it will show up over here. So yeah, I don't think it looks too bad, but we basically met all the requirements here. We have 3 images. We have 4 external links that are light blue. We have the tables of all the people in history. And then we will have the YouTube video as soon as I get done recording it. So I hope you enjoyed my video on my first HTML page. And I hope you guys go and try this out for yourself. Like I was saying, if you copy and paste this into just a text document and then save it as an HTML file, you can just open it up in your favorite browser and it will actually just show you this web page right here. So I hope you guys try it out. I hope you learned something today, and y'all are wonderful, in case no one's told you.